This is Glambition Radio, episode number 241 with Sarah Flint, luxury footwear designer. Welcome to Glambition Radio. I am your host, Allie Brown. I'm an entrepreneur, mentor, investor, and mom of twins. I love thinking big, doing different, and exploring ideas that disrupt the status quo, especially when it comes to women, because we are rewriting the rules for leadership, business success, making money, and changing the world. And we're doing it with style. Let's go. In a world of so much heaviness right now and seriousness and craziness, it's nice to have a bit of levity. It's nice to have a bit of retail therapy. It's nice to have the pleasure of beautiful things. Do not overlook that at this moment in time. And so I'm excited to have Sarah Flint on the show today. She's a luxury footwear designer who I had not heard of until a few months ago. And then I was like, bam, suddenly I saw her everywhere and fell in love with her shoes. And she was just as frustrated as you and I both were with, not being able to find a heel that you could truly wear all day, that actually had something besides a sole as hard as a rock on it. Like I'm scraping over to Walgreens to buy pads for the $600 shoes. I'm like, this doesn't make sense, right? Designed for a woman's foot. All the things that you've been sitting there going, why doesn't someone do blah, 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 right? Well, she did it, and she's done it since she was age 25. So she didn't mess around. She said, this is needed. I'm going to do this. And she's been included in Forbes 30 Under 30. She's been featured as a showcase designer in many circles. She's won awards. She's had so many celebs embrace and love her shoes. We'll talk about that today. So the shoes are great enough, and you can learn more at sarahflint.com. It's Sarah with an H. And also, by the way, we got you a $50 off promotion. If you're on her site, just go to where you enter the promotion. Let me make sure I get this right. It's Sarah Flint Glambition, or I guess it's a hyphen, Sarah Flint Glambition. We're also going to put the link here in the show notes, but $50 off. That is good through the last day of December. What I wanted her to share today, especially, is how she got such a following so early on and got the celebs to wear her shoes. And she's going to be very honest in when she sought help for that and when she did it on her own. Also, I was really intrigued by her decision to pull out of department stores completely, which is the traditional route for designers to get well known, and has focused exclusively on direct sales. She'll talk about that as well. You're going to love this, and maybe you'll end up with a brand new pair of Sarah Flint shoes. Quick reminder that our show today is sponsored by The Trust. It's the private premier network for 7- and 8-figure women entrepreneurs. We had a strong start this year in 2020, and we are so excited to go into 2021 and grow this organization to be such a powerful group of amazing women from many different industries. We have service-based, we have retail, we have commercial, we have tech, we have healthcare, beauty, and all these women are just thinking at a higher level. They're working at a higher level. And by default, they're all very mission-based, really great circle to be in. So if you're looking for something different, have a look at jointhetrust.org. We'll be happy to tell you about our upcoming events and exciting things happening right off the ground in January. Check that out. And a quick shout out to 2 reviews my team pulled for me from Apple Podcasts. The first is Jacob SOP from the US. Kudos to highlighting both women's successes and struggles that are often overlooked in the workplace. Thanks for contributing to a better future for everyone. Love the energy of every episode. And binge-worthy, Netflix not required, from Kim Flatland. Thank you, Kim. Each episode of this podcast stimulates your creativity, ambition, and reflection. Allie asks the questions that generate honest, no BS answers, and the guests show up in their true, authentic self. This is my go-to podcast while traveling or when I'm in the mood to dig deeper into expanding myself. and my business. We love reviews. Reviews help other women discover this intelligent show when they're a little tired of all the boss, babe, badass, BS stuff out there. And we love it. We love when you take the time, and you will be rewarded. We're going to be doing another special giveaway for our reviewers, I guess we would call you, early in 2021. And so don't wait till then. Even if you post a review now, we'll give you the chance to be rewarded for that when we're doing that promotion again. All right. Now, let's get ready for a little retail therapy with Sarah Flint. Sarah, I would like to know where you are right now.
I am currently in Gramercy Park, New York, where I live in my shoe closet / office.
I was going to say New York, even the luxury apartments, you don't have a lot of room for shoes. So you've combined
exactly.
them.
It has a window, so I'll take that as a plus. And I have a lot of shoes, so it takes a lot of space.
I still think of Carrie from Sex and the City when I think of
storing
shoes
them in the
New
oven.
York. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they were under the bed. Like she had like a ceiling panel, I think at some point. I just remember the shoe thing. So I alluded to this in our pre-chat, but I wanted to save it for the show, that I was so delighted to become aware of you because I had not actually known about your shoes. And that's not surprising because I'm not, like, I used to subscribe to InStyle and those things. I go through phases and then I'm kind of done. And then I'll go back, then I'll get back into fashion for a while, and then I'll kind of stop. And it was thrilling to see, and I'm sure you hear this all the time. It's so cliche, but like stylish shoes that someone designed with comfort in mind. And this sounds so ridiculous to even say out loud, doesn't it? I mean, shouldn't this be just a thing now? Or did this still surprise you? Yeah, tell me how this all evolved and why this was such a mission of yours.
Yeah. So, first of all, I've always been obsessed with shoes and art and fashion and, a particular fascination with shoes. But I quickly realized as I started to purchase luxury shoes that they were some of the most uncomfortable. And they would be the ones that end up sitting at the back of your closet, which is crazy because, those are the most expensive ones. And so I felt like there was just a huge opportunity to create shoes that were not only beautiful, but also sort of fit and made you feel good and were the types of shoes you wore in your real life, because there's so much emphasis in designer shoes sort of put on the runway styles or the really fancy heels and things like that. But things like flats and mid heels, I always felt like that was an afterthought to designers' collections.
Yeah. It was like, oh, we have to do these for the women who can't take the pressure. Exactly. But like, whatever, we'll throw a bow on top. It's not, doesn't have to be the focus of the creativity. Yeah.
And I used to like doctor all of my shoes too. I used to take them to the cobbler and get rubber put on the bottom and, put the, shocks things inside and all of that, which just
gel pads and heel things.
Pads.
And
Exactly.
Even if you buy like $700 shoes and then buy like pads at Walgreens to stuff into them because they're painful.
Which is just so crazy. So, with my shoes, one of the first things I did, I was like, well, I'm not having people go spend $30 at Leather Spa to get rubber put on the bottom as soon as they buy a new pair of shoes. I'm going to do that from the beginning. And details like we have wider toe boxes in the front, and we actually added arch support, which is not something you would ever find in a luxury high heel or really a high heel in general. And it makes a world of difference. And, I felt like there were a lot of options in the comfort realm, but they looked like comfort footwear. And I really wanted to create something that, was a true luxury product made in the same incredible Italian factories, but that actually fit and felt good.
Yeah. I mean, I remember just the last few decades. I mean, I remember just looking at the designer stuff and thinking, well, if I can't wear this, it's like I have to wear like naturalizer or something
exactly.
like a way down market. Right. And then you've had a few brands, try the space, but they didn't really hang in there, that tried to make their mark. Why do you think yours are getting so much attention?
I think that, it's not just that they're comfortable shoes that are also attractive. They're really the kinds of shoes that women are really wearing in their real lives. I think, when you think about so many designer brands, also a lot of the designers are men. And so I'm actually, fit testing everything myself. We work with our customers to do fit testing as well. We really just spend so much time sort of perfecting the details, and we really utilize our networks as well and make our clients and our fans evangelists and sort of galvanize them to spread the word about Sarah Flint. And I think particularly in, today's world when it's very, very expensive for direct-to-consumer brands to get out there with digital marketing, if you can create a brand that women want to talk about and share, then you're really in a great spot. And that's where we found ourselves.
Yeah. Can you walk us through the steps you took to grow this as a business, back from the conception of this idea? I know you went to school for design as well. Kind of walk us through those milestones leading to today.
Absolutely. So, I went to fashion design school in New York. I went to FIT, and then I actually moved to Italy to study manufacturing so that I could understand more about how to make the shoes comfortable, and really fell in love with the craftsmanship over there and just the incredible pride that the artisans take in what they're doing, and the fact that, it's not just the factory owner that's father did that and father's father did that. It's the person who's attaching the outsole and the stitching woman and all of that kind of stuff. And I basically, put together a business plan. Actually worked as a nanny in New York while I was sort of doing this and meeting with people and talking to a lot of anyone I really could who was in the industry and I could get advice from, and started the brand in small stores, little, boutiques and things like that, and with trunk shows. And
so would you just walk in and introduce yourself?
Club. In some cases, yes, actually. And I did hire a salesperson that first season who had, sold luxury shoes before to different wholesale accounts. So she was able to get appointments for me. But that first year was pretty much just a few small boutiques and doing trunk shows across the US. And then we did get into Barney's New York a year in, which was a huge feat. And that really sort of grew the brand from there. We suddenly, started to get a lot of press, and we were very fortunate to have quite a significant celebrity following from the beginning. Through a million different ways, but we started working with a celebrity seeding firm early on. I would DM celebrities and have a surprising amount of success with that. And so we had a much bigger brand presence than we actually did have a business early on. And, a few years in, we were selling at Barney's and Mode Operandi and Shop Up and all of these Bloomingdale's great places. But I sort of looked at the world around me and the way that I was shopping and the way that my friends were shopping. And it was definitely not really in department stores anymore.
Yeah.
And, there was just sort of a digital revolution going on around us. When I had launched the brand, while there were the Caspers and Warby Parkers of the world, there weren't as many categories in the direct-to-consumer space. And by 2017, when we made a big transition, we actually switched to direct-to-consumer. There were a lot more sort of different types of brands, but they were all making sort of basics and nothing that was really sort of like design focused. And so I felt like there was just a huge opportunity to create a direct-to-consumer luxury brand that was, had a really unique point of view on design and on, what consumers want today. So we actually left department stores in 2017, so canceled orders. And
tell me about that decision. That was not a light decision, because
no,
that, saying that, we're in Barney's, for example, gives you huge credibility. Then they know Absolutely. You're not just some new kid on the block. Tell me about making that decision. Did you go back and forth, or did you just know, okay, I'm ready?
I got to a point, I was seeing all of these direct-to-consumer brands, and it was constantly like this, like, well, look how fast they're growing. This is making me kind of crazy. Why am I sort of struggling to selling at wholesale is not an easy thing to do. There's a lot of challenges around it, and you really don't sort of control your product or your brand narrative, and you don't own any of your customer data. There's a lot of frustrations around it. As much as I loved all of my wholesale partners and we had a business that was growing, it wasn't growing as fast as I wanted it to.
There's also a lot more money up front, right? Like we're not that familiar with retail. So maybe you could tell us, like, when you're working with a big store like that, are they just telling you how many shoes they want and you go?
Yeah, you're placing a huge order. Exactly. You're placing the order. And then, there's things like chargebacks if things don't ship exactly on time, or in the case of what's going on right now with stores being closed for so long. I have a lot of friends who have brands that were in department stores and all of their orders were canceled for spring and for fall. So they're stuck with all of that inventory now. They had to pay for that inventory, and they don't have the online channels. They have websites, but not the way that, a direct-to-consumer brand would have built out.
Yeah.
And so they're stuck with all this inventory, and now they have to do major markdowns and things like that. Markdowns were a big frustration of mine because, as there's all of these issues around sort of stores not selling what's in season, but selling way ahead. So, boots being on sale by the time it's cold out. And that meant that I had to do that on my website. And so that was just a huge frustration of mine. And there's also just such a constant need to create so much newness all the time in a way that doesn't always, make sense for the business or your manufacturing partners. So when we made the switch to direct to consumer, I really narrowed down our assortment and placed a lot of emphasis on our core styles that we always have in stock and that don't go to markdown, and then started launching limited edition styles that really were, made in quite small runs so that we would sell out of those and you didn't have, quite as much waste or product that you would then have to liquidate.
Was it almost a relief when you made that shift, when it was finally over?
Yeah, it was a huge relief for sure. And then, the part that I didn't mention is that, of course, direct to consumer means that we were able to price it significantly less, about 40% less than we had before. So, pumps that would have sold for $700 selling at $300, which is just so much. I mean, it's better for your customer. It's, it opens up a whole new market. And, I felt like I really wanted to introduce this sort of level of quality and luxury and attention to detail to the next generation of consumers as well. And that's really been an amazing transition that we've seen since we've moved to direct to consumers, is just the age range of our clients has really expanded.
Tell me about this celeb. Now you kind of breezed over that, saying, we had a, celeb seed, what was the phrase, seeding company. And we reached out but who was that first celeb that you kind of connected with and you thought, okay, this is really good. Like they're talking about our shoes, or they're going to wear the shoes, or you got off the phone and said, oh my gosh.
Yeah. So the first celebrity ever spotted out in the shoes was Heidi Klum. And
not a bad deal.
No, not a bad deal. And she had this one boot of ours that she was obsessed with, and we ended up ordering it in about 1 million colors for her. And so that was really cool to see. And although it was a 100 millimeter stiletto, Heidi, of course, was rocking it, walking down the street and, at her kids' soccer match and things like that, which was really cool.
She would wear those to her kids' soccer match. Like, that's just Heidi Klum.
Yeah.
We love her for that.
Exactly.
We'll get the lower version. Do you have like the mom version then of that heel, right?
Yes, we did. Although it was the me version. I wouldn't call it the mom version, but yeah. And then, from there, Blake Lively was an early fan. Amal Clooney was a little bit down the road, but that was a really exciting one.
Well, Meghan Markle seems to be the one you got the most press on, at least when I was digging around.
Yeah, definitely. That was, she was a big fan of the brand early on in the days when, she was an actress. And so then once I did like a blog post with her for her, she had this great lifestyle blog, The Tig, that I loved. And I ended up doing like a travel story on that. And then once she moved to the UK and obviously had a lot more focus, it was a totally different story, but was really amazing to see that.
But to see that's smart. So her name, though, for example, has carried through several years.
Exactly. Yeah.
Shoe. That shows the value of that type of credential, when a celebrity embraces your brand, even, years later, she's still connected with your brand.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that's been the cool thing to see with celebrities is to have them wear the same shoes over and over again. Because it's not just a red carpet appearance where, they're dressed by a stylist, but to see like all the different outfits and the different ways that they wear it and, that it is in their real lives.
Yeah. You use the term new luxury. Can you tell us what that means to you?
Yeah. So, in making this transition, I thought a lot about what luxury means today. And, luxury in the past, I think, luxury has always been about, impeccable quality, original design, and sort of some sort of prestige around the product or the brand.
Mm-hmm.
But it also was around price point in the past. That was one of the indicators of luxury. And to me, while quality, original design, and prestige are still a huge part of what luxury is, I don't think that price point matters to today's consumer. In fact, value is increasingly important to customers. They want to understand, not just, where something was made but how it was made, that it was made, ethically and responsibly and all of that. And I think luxury today has also become about ease and convenience in a way that it may not have been in the past. So that's sort of our definition of what new luxury is. And
yeah, it's more attainable than the old definition, isn't it? It's still a bit aspirational, but it's more attainable.
Exactly. It's still very aspirational, but it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be about price anymore. It's still not inexpensive by any stretch of the imagination, but it's about more than that. And I think, for us, one of the things that I really wanted, from the brand was to create sort of a new type of luxury brand for today's consumer and what they were looking for. And I think some of that is also sort of in tone and how you speak to your consumer and the transparency that you have around your business practices. So even things like, with our pop-up, which was last fall, we had a pop-up in New York, which was a highlight of my career for sure. So fun. Mm. But one of the things I thought about when I was putting that pop-up together was how I could create sort of like this new luxury experience that felt a little bit warmer and more welcoming than what I had experienced from traditional luxury. So, not where you're walking into a store and it feels super cold and there's a guy in a suit that's, watching you to make sure you don't touch anything. But, where you would invite people in for a cup of tea and a cookie. And so it was set up like my living room, our store. And we had tea and cookies every day, chocolate chip cookies and hot tea. And we had shoe walls where you could try shoes on without having to ask for a size or anything like that, because I really wanted people to experience the fit and comfort and not have a barrier to entry where they, some people get very intimidated by asking a sales associate for something they feel, if they've gone to the stock room, there's a pressure to buy. And I really just wanted people to come in and experience the brand.
That's a great point about, you're sitting there and you're waiting and they come back and you're like, no, my foot's too fat. I need a bigger one.
Yeah, exactly. And you're like, I just made them go all the way downstairs.
And they come back with the stack, right? And they're sweating. And,
yes, exactly.
Yeah. And you just want to discreetly, sometimes I'll discreetly try on the display because I'm like, you know what, that way I'll just know if I'm an 8 and don't have to bother them again.
Exactly. So we had walls of, from the smallest to the largest size of our core just out. So you could grab it and try it on. And then we also had this great little section where you could take a shoe fee that you could post on Instagram. So it was like this little fake garden walk.
Oh, like a selfie, but a shoe.
Yes, exactly. A selfie, but a shoe fee. And so, that's sort of also what I mean by new luxury, creating a world that is super aspirational, but a little bit more welcoming.
Yeah. I'm excited to try your shoes. It was funny because I was preparing for the interview and then suddenly there's, I'm putting things in the cart and then remembering I'm supposed to be preparing for an interview and shopping. But before I forget, I want to give out that you gave us a generous code for $50 off for our listeners. And I'm going to give that out to everyone right now. We'll have it in the show notes as well. It's Sarah, Sarah, Flint, FLINT, all caps, and then hyphen Glambition, all caps. And that's good through the last day of December. And that's at your site, correct?
Yep, absolutely.
Just at sarahflint.com.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell us by the way, you just got married, right?
I did.
Why are you on this interview? Don't you want to take some time off or?
I was back to work on Monday, married on Saturday and back on Monday.
Is it just a 2020 schedule type of thing?
It's a this time of year schedule type of thing. Originally, I'd planned to get married in last June of 2020. Mm-hmm. And obviously that was not happening. And we planned this, huge wedding, abroad and stuff. And finally we decided we just didn't want to wait any longer. And we would just do it over Thanksgiving, just with our immediate family, which we did.
Perfect. But where was it?
It was in Massachusetts, where I'm from.
I have to ask, I imagine you with an Italian, but I don't even know.
You know what? He's not Italian. It's shocking. He's from Arizona.
He's in Arizona. Okay, great. Well, yeah. I'm in Arizona. I'm here in Scottsdale. So
he's from Arizona, but he's from, yes. Yeah. Oh, you're in Scottsdale now. Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I approve if he's an Arizona guy. So that's exciting. And then the other thing I wanted to tell you that was so funny is when I first saw your brand, I, for some reason, assumed you were British. Do you ever hear that?
I hear that all the time.
Small prints, florals, tea,
Yep. Yeah. And, I've spent a lot of time in the UK and traveling there growing up, and a fair amount of time in Scotland, and then also in the UK. And we were actually supposed to get married in Yorkshire. So, I think a lot of people, maybe it's a British sensibility. Also, my home decor, I love British interiors.
Yeah. So you've China. You have,
yes, I love China. love China.
You're gonna think I've been stalking you, but it's just it's just fun. I love
that's what you have to do.
It's really fun to not be familiar with someone and then kind of skim through everything that's public and realize what you can determine about them or guess about what you see in branding and what they share and who they are. So looking forward, Sarah, before I ask my last question, looking forward, what should we be watching for with the Sarah Flint brand? What do you think are your predictions for 2021 for retail? Looking ahead, what should we think about?
Absolutely. So, I started this brand with just footwear, but it has always been my goal to sort of create a world around the brand, not just a product. And I think that 2020 has only sort of moved us faster towards that. We launched silk scarves this spring, which have been incredibly successful, and stationery. And we have a couple new categories coming in the spring and then next fall. So I would definitely be on the lookout for those. I think that we've spent much more time during this period sort of trying to create joyful content and show lots of different facets of ways to sort of live happily during this period, and a lot of interest from our customers for many different categories. So that is what's sort of on the horizon and very exciting. And in terms of retail in the world, I think that we're going to see so many more digital brands now. And my hope is that we get back to pop-ups at some point. Retail for me was just such a pleasure and a delight and a joy to meet with customers in person and have those conversations. I've spent a lot of time during this period. I've actually done, I think, 130 phone calls.
Dear Lord.
Of customer phone calls during COVID. Just spend some time just learning more about our customers. But it's so nice. But every time I get off a call, I'm like, oh, I'm so sad. I wish I was doing this in person. I wish I was, still having these events and getting to meet people and actually fit them and things like that. So
yeah, we talk a lot about my clients and I, and this was a great conversation too I had with 2 months ago. I interviewed Kate Anquetil. She's a retail futurist from the UK. I'm not sure if you're familiar with her, and she. It was a fascinating conversation. You love it. It was a September 9th episode because I was desperate to know, will we ever shop in person again? Because for me, online shopping is more of the hunt when I'm looking for something. I miss walking through and trying things on and touching it and spraying the perfume. And I said, please tell me that this will eventually come back. And she said, it will. This is gathering as a human need, but it may look different. Maybe we have more events or communities based around the shopping, and we will always want to gather, and women will always want beautiful things. And so I have a feeling they will come together again at some point. So Sarah, to wrap up, can you share 3 great pieces of advice for all the women listening? And we just would love to learn from what you've done and who you've become in the process.
Absolutely. I think some of the best advice I got early on was from one of my mentors and investors, Leslie Blodgett, who's the creator of Bare Essentials, or Bare Mineral. Yeah. And she told me early on that I had to basically not be afraid to just cold reach out to people and knock on every door and hear no a lot. And it was scary and terrifying, but some of the best things that have happened to my business and for me have been through blind outreach, through, sending someone a message on LinkedIn or a DM on Instagram, or figuring out a way to meet people that can be helpful to me and my business. And so I would say that's probably, one of the biggest ones. And I think, this sort of goes along with that, but just being relentless in general. I think early on, I sometimes felt like I can't make too many corrections, or I can't, ask for things so many times because it'll be too high maintenance and I'll drive people nuts.
Yeah, you don't want to be a pain.
What I sort of realized was that actually you have to. That's what will make your business and your product exceptional, is, constantly fighting for your customer. And so I would say that's definitely a big one. And then finally, this isn't somewhere that I got right away, but trying not to sweat the smaller stuff and understanding that you're going to hit road bumps and roadblocks, and that you'll get through them, and they may lead you in a different, more beneficial direction. That certainly happened to me, more than once. But just know that you're going to get over it, because if you spend too much time dwelling on something that's gone wrong and not enough time saying, okay, what do I do now? What's next? That can really, really slow you down.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that last one, because we beat ourselves up a lot. And, it's very common, and we don't often share that. So I appreciate you sharing that, because we need to remember that's what's going to keep us going. No one's ever launched and grown a business without a mistake, or even a big fuck up, really, like most people have had a major problem, as they've grown a business, and it's important to remember. So Sarah, let me give out that coupon code one more time. Everybody listening, you want to go check out Sarah's shoes. They're, take it from someone who generally, if I'm not in, you'll die, Sarah. Sorry. If I'm not in sneakers, I'm in cowboy boots. And then I have my home stuff. And then there's business stuff. And the business stuff was too high. And I was looking for something like a beautiful pump. Where do you find a beautiful pump anymore? You want to look at Sarah Flint. So it's sarahflint.com. It's Sarah, SARAH, Flint.com. And the code is Sarah Flint Glambition. And that's going to give you $50 off. And that's good through December 31st. So Sarah, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your story, sharing everything you did to build your business, and where are all the places we can and should keep up with you.
You should keep up with me on Instagram for sure. Our work Instagram is sarahflint_NYC. And then I have a personal Instagram where you can see a lot of behind the scenes stuff, which is XO Sarah Flint.
Perfect. Great.
Way to go.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. This was such a lovely chat, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
And I'd love to meet you in person one day when we can
do that. Coffee in person. Well, not coffee, tea for me and coffee for you.
Absolutely. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining me for this episode of Glambition Radio. If you enjoyed the show, make sure you subscribe so you automatically get new shows every week. And I'd love if you left us a review. We are on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and other platforms. And I'd love to hear from you. Come join the conversation online. You'll mostly find me on Instagram, but also on Facebook, Twitter, and more. Just head to allybrown.com. You will find them all there. And you can also learn about upcoming opportunities to meet in person. Glambition Radio is the elevated conversation for women leaders, and I'm honored you've tuned in.